Welcome back, regular viewers. Check out this nice black drum sent in by regular viewer Frank. And here's a suburban fawn. Okay, welcome back, regular viewers. Got a bit of a change of venue today. It's 94 degrees, which is about, I don't know, 25 more degrees than I want to deal with today. And so we're going to be working indoors. Today we're talking about real maintenance. Real maintenance. Regular, real maintenance. There we go. I have these two beauties right here. My kids and I just went fishing at the beach, and which is full of salt water. Salt water and reels don't get along, and in order to keep them going, if you're a regular guy like me, you just can't afford to keep buying new reels, then you need to do just a little bit of regular reel maintenance on them. This is a spinning reel right here. I'm just going to show you a spinning reel and a baitcaster. Whatever the brand is, the make, model, size, whatever, their basic components are all the same. So this basic instructional cleaning video will work for everything you got under the sun. So this one here really doesn't do well in the salt water. I don't know if you can hear that. It's going to need some cleaning and lubrication. This is the, we did a short on this reel, my Sugaling here. This is my, for big lures and for big fish kind of deal. And it's a very inexpensive but very high quality bait caster, and I want to keep it as long as I possibly can. This spinning reel also is pretty high quality for the price. These run about $25 to $35 depending on the model and when you buy it. I believe it's another Sugaling. For some reason I can't find the name on it right now. It's not cool enough that it has a name stamped all over it, I'll tell you that. So I buy all my reels usually on the Amazons. So let's start with cleaning this dog right here. Generally you want to have a nice workspace because you're going to get a little bit of dirt and oil around. So make sure you do it in the appropriate place where your wife is not going to get mad at you. That's why I'm using the dining room table as an example of what not to do. So we've removed the drag and the spool comes right off. Down here we have our star washer, which what the drag, which that little clicking noise when your drag is going engages to. I like to lay out my parts and pieces in the order they came off so that I can put them back in the same order. And you can do this with some pretty basic tools. This is the reel that my kids were using, so it got exceptionally wet, we'll say. So from here, this is the main bearing down here and this shaft. You can see the rust that's accumulated on this just from this little trip that we took. This is from one fishing trip to the beach here, and these reels were rinsed out with fresh water right when we were done, when they were still wet, and we still got all these issues to deal with. And if we were just to let this sit, we'd have corrosion issues like you read about. By the way, if you didn't know, if you, on most spinning reels, when you take this screw out right here, your handle comes out. If you want to make it a left-handed reel or a right-handed reel, that's all you do, and then screw this in on the other side. None of this having to use the reel upside down business. So it's an either or, doesn't matter. And you can see this reel is not rated for salt water at all. That is not a stainless steel screw. There we go. Okay, so we have a bearing right here. You can see the rust build up on that. We're going to use our friend's Q-tips. There's that rust came right off. Usually this gear can wiggle out of here. This one doesn't seem to want to play. That's fine. You can still make the reel work. Take a look, see what's going on in here. Alright, now let's get to cleaning this or lubricating this. If you take this off, this bearing comes out, you can pull the shaft out. There's a screw here. I can show you. If you really want to get intimate with this reel, that screw right there, you take that screw out, and this shaft can pull out right here, and then you can take the whole innards apart. but I don't see enough corrosion in here to worry about that. Using my peanut butter blaster today, PB blaster, because it was the first can that I grabbed. Generally, it's just as long as it's a thin oil on fishing reels. There is a little bit of grease usually on spinning reels, but I don't mind. I like relubricating it with a thin oil. Kind of gets in and around a little bit better. I can already feel that that is moving much nicer than it was. Kind of gunk comes out of there. And what I'm turning is this brass piece right here. That's turning this little gear in here under this main gear. And that's what drives the whole system. That is more than enough oil than that thing needs. We're just going to let it sit and marinate for a little bit. Wipe that down with some oil. My wife is going to absolutely love the smell that this put in the house. Some of these higher end reels, believe it or not, will have bearings in here. Some of these can be removed, and some of them are just pantomime. This one is running just fine, as you can see, so I'm not going to mess with it. So that was convenient that it did that. I don't know if you can see this here. There is salt built up on the inside of this reel. So we're going to wipe that around and get it all off of there. Some people might find this super tedious. I kind of find it relaxing, you know, when you're at work and you feel like you're always smacking your head against the wall, really not getting anything good done. You can come home and take apart your reels and clean them and just kind of remember the trips that got them dirty. You know, what it is, you know, you're out there fishing with your kids on the beach, enjoying a nice sunset or sunrise in our case this time, watching the birds and the fish out there in the water. I got to see some porpoises and some sharks playing out in the surf. We'll say playing. They were feeding out in the surf, which was kind of cool. Okay, here is our spring. Helps your bail to come over, and we're just looking for any kind of corrosion in there. Put a little drop of the peanut butter blaster on that. That actually looks pretty clean. So we'll button that right back up. It's kind of nice that it's got this one screw protected here to keep that from backing out. That's a cool little feature on this reel. Okay. And for how cheap this reel was, don't lose that piece. It goes there. Okay. So for how cheap this reel was, it actually does have 15 ball bearings in it, believe it or not. And I have found them, so they do exist. This is where the majority of our salt water got in, is this roller bearing up here, which is your line guide and your spinning reel. And that looks plenty corroded. And sometimes there's all sorts of little washers and stuff in here, so you got to be careful not to, you don't want to lose all that stuff. But there is plenty of junk and corrosion in there. And we got to remember this has an angle to it, a high side and a low side. And the high side goes on this side right here, so we don't flip it over and put it the wrong way. Back that screw out. This should be a little plastic washer thingy here. There it is. Make sure there's no dirt or grime under that. Let's get a fresh Q-tip with a little bit of oil on it. Wipe it around. Good. Get all that junk out of there. I know this isn't the most exciting of videos, but regular reel maintenance helps you keep out on the water fishing longer for less money. Okay, nothing under there, and that screw still looks good. Put a little bit of oil on that. Ah, yes, there we go. This little piece had to cam in place. It had to go in like at 90 degrees. I've never seen a bail release like that before. Clearly, I've never taken that side off or had that come out before, but there you go. Back in business, and ain't it grand? Okay. Oops. Maybe third time will be a charm with this piece. There's 2 bearings in there. Bearing junk in there. A little bit of salt on the top of this guy. There you go. And you can see there was still water in it. See that in the oil right there? So it's good we're getting this oil in here to push any of that water out in case it's salt water. Just like putting anything back together, like, you know, this kind of, if you change your transmission fluid, you know, anything you're going to go around it with a pattern of screws. You don't just tighten one down, so you want to work your way around it, because you can get these off and it will mess up the inside sometimes. There you go. You don't have to do it like it insulted your mother. Just tight enough. What am I doing putting this on yet? Pretend you didn't see that. That was a mistake. That was just for funsies. I just wanted to make sure the threads were clean. That's what we'll say. Oh, I did it backwards. I could look at the exploded diagram, but why start now? Who saves those anyway, right? I do, because I'm weird. Sometimes getting this nut on here can be a little bit difficult. These threads are cut in half, so it's very easy to cross thread this piece, and there is an up and down to this nut. I was just putting it on backwards again, so I had to flip it down. It's got a rounded side and a flat side. Just have a little patience. All right. Not too bad. Oh, yeah, don't forget your set screw. Goes in one of those 2 Mickey Mouse ears over the over that nut. And that keeps this locking nut in place. And sometimes I can even get it to go back in. Clean this off. And we're going to clean, this is your actual drag piece right here. So we'll find a clean place of the rag, because this you really don't want oil on. Just like the brakes on your car. There's going to be a little bit of oil on this, because it's not a perfect world, but you don't need to use brake cleaner on it or anything like that. But there you go. Not too bad. Sounds better, and it's loose where it couldn't turn before. So we just need to put more line on it, and it'll be ready to go back in service. Next up, Baitcaster. Modern Baitcasters are pretty easy to do maintenance on. Usually they'll have some sort of release lever here, or this one has it right here. It used to say it on it, but it's been wore off. Just got to remember if it was lefty loosey or righty tighty. But side plate comes off, and then you can take the spool out. And why you want to do that is there's a bearing right here, and then there's a bearing inside there. So while I'm cleaning this, again, I'm looking for oil, looking for salt or sand. This is a shielded bearing, but we'll let the oil sit on it like that and soak in. In fact, it already did, which was pretty quick. Put that guy over there. Okay, flipping this upside down. Just put a little drop of oil in that one as well. Right down here in your worm gear for your part that winds the line on your spool level, your level line, whatever is that called? Whatever it's called. Okay. Then you can take your peanut butter blaster all the way down in that gear and give it a squirt. If you're having more problems with your reel than that, we can take off these bolts or nuts over here, or screws, there we go, and this one on these sides here. But generally, that is going to do it for a Baitcaster. You can take all this apart and you really get in there and give it a deep, deep clean. But this one I can feel there was nothing going on with it. There was no problems. I didn't have any grinding or anything like that. Nothing that made me believe that there was salt in it, or sand in it rather. It definitely got wet, just not as wet as the kid's reel there, mostly because there wasn't a kid using it. Just making sure there's not any salt around it that I didn't see. A lot of times it'll gather up salt and sand down here from getting thrown off the spool, so I'm just cleaning it up with a rag. Give it another squirt now that we moved it around a little bit. Lock it back. There we go. Helps if you align it. Much better. I overloaded it with oil just to make sure that it was clean. So it's going to drip for a little bit. This is your brake on this side. You can take this off. That's pretty wet in there. Oops. And then you knock your tray over and lose all your tools. A little squirt of oil down in that as well. Sometimes your baitcaster, if you do take it all the way apart right here, your brake discs are under this, on this shaft right here. If those get oil on them, your drag will stop working in these reels. And no matter how hard you tighten it, whatever, it's gonna keep letting the line out. And that's how you know you got oil on those. You just got to take these off. Take off this lock screw. Take this piece off. The handle comes off. Unscrew your drag, and then that piece comes out right there. You'll see all the discs and how they're laid out. And then just clean them off with a clean rag, not one like that. And then you'll be good to go. But this reel is, again, ready to go. We're just going to let it drip dry a little bit, and then we're done. So thank you so much. I know this was a non-traditional video, but it was regular reel maintenance to preserve your, cheap reels. Or if you are, one of the folks that has the money to spend several $100s, then this is definitely something you want to do to preserve that investment and make these last for years. This one is, I got for my kids a little bit ago, but this reel I have been running probably for the last 5 years, in and out of salt water, at the beach, in the lakes, in the bayous, and whatever, and it's still running just fine, just from that level of maintenance that you just saw right there. Rinsed it off when I got home, or when I came done from using the water while it was still wet, to make sure there was no sand or salt going to build up on it, and then just lubricated it today like you just saw. So that's it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. Other than that, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all the support. You stay regular. Hey, what are you kids doing?
You stay regular.